It is the start of another day, the time when the world wakes up and the cogs of society begin to move. I am one of those cogs going round and round. I have become a functioning part of the world, rotating in the time of day called morning. Hi, it's Angel, and today I want to discuss a book that I read a few years ago, but I found myself thinking about it again recently after I mentioned it in my previous video. So it's this book, Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. I've actually wrote an essay about this, but while rereading some parts, I realized that some of the themes that this book explores still feel incredibly relevant to me. So I thought it might be nice to talk about it in a more conversational manner. So I first picked up this book during a period when I wanted to explore more Japanese contemporary literature. And what struck me immediately was how deceptively simple it is. The story follows a 36 years old woman named Keiko Furukura, and she's working part-time in a convenience store for the past 18 years. By the way, I love the setting of this book because we all know how impressive the convenience stores are in Japan. I've never been there, but I've heard that it's quite literally offering convenience because you can pretty much find anything that you might need and even the odd ones that you may not expect to find. So, reading a story set in a convenience store in Japan is akin to, let's say, reading a story about a rush hour commute here in the Philippines. Anyway, I digress. So, we have Keiko, she's 36 and working in a part-time job at a convenience store for the past 18 years, not to mention doing that in a country well known for its intense work culture. Here in Philippines, it will probably raise a lot of relatives' eyebrows if you're doing that. And on top of that, she's not married, she doesn't have children, she doesn't have any particular ambition to climb a corporate ladder. In other words, she's practically living the kind of life that society can easily describe as not normal. And that, I think, is what makes this book quite unsettling because who decides what is normal and what is not? In my essay, I wrote this. They made her believe she needed to be cured. Of what? Where do we draw the line between what is normal and what is not? And who creates the criteria? If Keiko is self-sufficient, uninterested in marriage, content with her so-called dead-end job, and maintains a reputable work ethic, does she still fall on the side of not normal for the conventional reasons of not hustling and marrying as normal people do? So I wrote that, and the link is in the description box if you want to read it. So back to the book, I kept noticing that Keiko's actual life is not really the source of conflict in the book because, like what I said, she's financially independent, she's good at her job, she's perfect at her job, and she's comfortable, and in her own way, she seems content. And isn't that a dream? To feel content, to live the life the way you want it to? So now the real conflict is caused by the people around her, the quiet glances of her friends, the questions they ask, and her family keeps worrying about her. Even though for her, she seems okay, she's fine. Again and again, people look at Keiko's life and decide for themselves that something must be wrong just because she's not living the life that everybody wants her to live or aims at a version of success that everybody seems to aim for. There seems to be an invisible timeline that follows us everywhere. By a certain age, you should have achieved this. By another age, you should have accomplished that. You should be this, you should do that. There seems to be a certain standard against which our lives can be measured. And what fascinated me about Keiko is that she doesn't naturally understand these standards. And I feel her because I too am quite baffled at people's concept of normal and how they impose it to other people, intentionally or unintentionally, knowingly or unknowingly. I mean, we pretty much normalized a lot of things already, and if we don't conform, then we'll be the odd ones. And what's sad about this book, what I think the tragedy of this book is eventually Keiko learned how to copy people's behavior. So her life basically became a performance of normality. So she carefully observes other people, she mimics their speech patterns, she copies their habits, even though she doesn't need to, because like what I said, she's not the problem. Her life is not the problem. And one of the moments that stayed with me uh, was when she takes Shiraha in. So Shiraha is an unpleasant, despicable man, and she takes her in just so she can act as if she's in a traditional relationship, even though Shiraha makes her life miserable. Reality check. Sometimes society is far more concerned about appearance than anything else. And that's even why the term aesthetic became a trend, an overused word nowadays. Sometimes people would rather see someone struggling inside a recognized framework than thriving outside of it. We live in a world where so much of our lives are visible. We constantly witness other people's relationships, careers, achievements, new home here, new car there, and we live in a world where flexing is normal and achievements are celebrated online. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think nowadays that is what is considered normal. What could be wrong though is how easily we tend to forget that there are an endless example of what a successful life looks like, and it's also normal not to perform it, not to show it in social media. It's normal to celebrate success offline, in private, in silence. And yeah, for example, just waking up in the morning is a success in itself. Like looking outside, seeing the sun, taking deep breaths, it's a success in itself. Those are the things that we usually take for granted, and somehow success is more anchored nowadays to achievements. But meanwhile, success could also mean feeling content, living your own life in your own way, working in a convenience store for the past 18 years, where it gives you fulfillment. So, what I just wanted to say is that you get to decide what is normal for you, regardless of what society dictates. Because I think many of us spend an extraordinary amount of energy trying to mold ourselves to be more acceptable, to soften our oddities, to hide our unusual interests. We question our instincts that feel natural to us simply because they don't align to what everyone else seems to be doing. I love the ending of this book. Very rarely I come across an ending such as this because I'm usually a sucker for tragic stories. But this book has a satisfying ending for me, and there's something surprisingly hopeful about it. So I just want to end this with a reminder that it's okay and normal not to be the society's version of normal, and we should all embrace our unique and odd ways of being. So, again, you get to decide for yourself what is normal for you, regardless of what society dictates. Be your own kind of strange. So, if you've read this book, I'd love to know your thoughts about it. And if you haven't, I hope I didn't spoil you, and maybe this is your sign to go ahead and pick it up. So again, thank you so much for watching. As always, if you like this video, please subscribe and like this video. It will mean a lot to me. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye!